The beginning of this story isn't really the start of this project. After one of the staff saw the foal I made out of the air-dry clay at the center, she asked if I could make her a dragonfly. I immediately told her yes. I thought to myself, well, how hard could it be? This is when the adventure began. This adventure started a new beginning for me as far as the new medium for my creativity, and to this day I tell people it was all her fault. Because it is this project that got me into working with clay and learning to sculpt again after 6 years. So let us begin at the beginning of this journey. I had created the foal. I will post a link to that video down below in the description. Okay, on 9/11/2018, got some more air dry clay and made a dragonfly. I just made something up out of my head and didn't look at the references, so it's not perfect. But in this first photo, you can see it's pretty amateurish. Yeah, I know, but it is what it is. Then on 9/27/2018, when I got to the center and my dragonfly, the first one I made on 9/11, was brought to me to work on, I saw that it was broken, and seeing as I couldn't fix it, I threw it away. I was determined to make this dragonfly. I started again with the same air-dry clay at LNWPA, which is Life Northwestern PA. This is a photo of it on paper towels. Of course, you can see it's still wet because I had just made it. And it's a bit better than that first one. So I left for the day, let it dry. On 10/2, I came back, and this is the air-dried clay. The legs aren't in there because I realized I made them upside down so they wouldn't work for the dragonfly, and I threw those away. I'm not sure if placing the wet clay on the paper towels was a good idea or not, since I could see the dampness from the clay seeping into the paper towels, but hey, it worked out in the end. It still dried up. Then I placed it on top of the clay that I made as a rock. I was going to make some new legs so that it would be standing on this rock, but I didn't have time that day, and I left. On 10/30, when I got my dragonfly, it had a broken wing. I don't go in every day, so there are spans between my working on these projects. Someone glued the wing back together, which was great, and I painted the dragonfly with acrylic neon glow-in-the-dark acrylic paint and glitter acrylic paint I bought from Amazon.com. Knowing it would cover the glued area, I wasn't too worried about the project. She liked bright colors, neon colors, and I told her I got some glitter, and she says that she'd like that too. So I started painting it and had to leave. So I left it for when I returned. Now, I don't know if you could tell in that photo, but this one here shows a red circle around the area that had broken and had been glued. So it's not really that noticeable. So I was able to paint over it, and that would have been fine. Since it had been several days since I was in the center, I asked if my homemaid could bring my dragonfly with her the next home visit, so I could work on it from home since I didn't know when I would be in again. I sent a box with my aid to the center so someone could put the dragonfly in it. She brought it to me on November 19th in the box, and when I opened it, I found the wing was once again broken on the dragonfly on the same wing, but in a different area. Nothing I could do about it. No need to get upset as things happen. I took a deep breath and slowly let it out. Thought for a few minutes. For the time being, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I did know I was going to make this dragonfly and nothing was going to stop me. For some reason, I was determined. I was going to make this dragonfly. I told her I would, and I was going to. This photo, you can see where the original break was by the red circle, because I didn't paint the underside yet, and then the new break. So on 11/26/2018, I had been thinking about this dragonfly project since I got the broken one back, trying to think of what I needed to do to make another one. I did know I didn't want to make it out of air dry clay again. It dries too quick to be able to really work on it, at least for me. I came up with an idea. Yeah, I like this idea in my head, but to make it work, I did some binge watching on YouTube. I learned I wanted to use polymer clay. I watched videos for 4 days straight on how to choose from the assortment of polymer clays on the market, how to use it, and went back to my first encounter on YouTube about sculpting in armatures I watched in 2012 by Cesar DeCall Jr. I'll place the link to his channel in the description below. I watched his episode on tools, another one of his episodes on armatures. Okay, now I felt confident that this is what I wanted to do with the newest and third try at making this dragonfly. I wasn't sure if this one didn't work, what I was going to do. My mind was reminded and refreshed with what I had learned from watching Cesar DeCall Jr.'s videos. And yes, I watched all of them, all 30 of them. It was definitely a learning experience. Now, since creating the red Yoshi in 49Q in 2012 after watching Cesar DeCall Jr.'s videos, I hadn't thought about getting back into sculpting. This is 6 years ago. I felt it wasn't for me. But to make this dragonfly, I jumped right in with both feet, and thus began my new desire to work with polymer clay and not wait another 6 years to work with it. I was going to really get my mind into it this time and do the dragonfly justice. 11/26/2018. I drew a sketch, and when I was satisfied with how I wanted the sculpture to look, I began getting everything I needed. Tools, clay, 1 millimeter and 2 millimeter wires, which also came with 3 millimeter wire, and some acrylic neon paints to work with, plus some glittered acrylic paints because they look so cool. The woman I was making this for wanted neon colors and told me which colors she would like. It had been 6 years since I had worked with the clay. I knew I needed to practice and get used to the tools, wires and for the armature, and making the armature itself, and how to work with the polymer clay. Thus, the creations of the White Shepherd Robin Hood and Purple Fox Robin Hood, these were my first trial in my working with these new mediums. I'll post a link to both of those in the description below. To start my armature, I began placing the number 2 wire on the sketch to get a rough idea of how long I wanted the pieces. I used number 3 wire for the base and just kind of bent it around to make the whole piece able to stand on its own. I added the number 2 wires to this to make the armatures for the leaves. I used the number 1 wire to wrap around the number 2 wires for stability and to give the clay something to hold on to. I actually made 2 different bodies, as the first one I didn't like. The first one is on the right in the image. When I was satisfied with the armature for the body, I moved on to making the wings. I figured I would make the body separate from the wings so it would be easier to put clay on them. Here's the clay I used, Sculpey 3. The clay on the right is how the clay comes out of the packaging, and the clay in the middle, the ball, is after I softened some clay by rolling it between my hands, my palms, and squishing it, and then rolling it and squishing it and rolling it to make it softer. It doesn't take long to soften the Sculpey 3 clay that way. Before putting clay on the plants and butterfly body, I needed a base to put the whole thing in. At least that's what I thought. In my mind, I thought of a round base that would be able to hold some resin to give it a water effect, as I always see dragonflies around water. Well, what gave me the idea of the resin is when I was binge watching videos about clay and armatures and all the other crafty ideas, I had come across, of course, videos on resin. It's like, oh, I love this stuff. Okay, yeah. And then I watched a YouTuber use a little bit of the resin. And I thought, oh, that would be cool. It just seemed natural. I used the bottom of one of my flavored water bottles. I lined it with aluminum foil first, as I wasn't sure how the clay would react with the plastic. I watched a video on what plastics will work with the polymer clay and which ones won't by Polymer Clay Tutor. I will post a link to that video in the description below as well. After placing the foil on the bottom and around the edges, I put in some clay. It didn't have to be perfect because ground underwater isn't perfect. I then placed the plant armature in the middle of the clay and made a mound around the armature and sloped the clay around the edges so it would hold the resin. I added clay to the leaves. I probably should have looked at some reference photos, but I didn't think about it. I also didn't make them perfectly smooth, as Mother Nature isn't always perfectly smooth. I added some 1mm wire to the bottom of the belly of the dragonfly for legs. Then I started covering the armature with clay. After adding clay to the dragonfly, I put it on top of the middle leaf, placing the legs where it would have the best balance. I smiled as I thought it was starting to look pretty cool, because a lot of times what I have in my mind doesn't come out right at the fingertips, and then that's whether I'm sculpting or drawing, painting, whatever. So I was actually happy that this sketch looked like what was in my mind, and the sculpture is starting to look like my sketch. I then went back to the wings and I added number 1 wire to the insides of the wing to give the clay support. Once I was satisfied with the armature for the wings, I added them to the body of the butterfly with clay. I removed the butterfly from the plant so it would be easier to work with the clay. I added some pink clay. I had no idea actually what I was going to do about the wings, as I have never done this type of thing before. I did put some transparent clay through my pasta machine on number 9, which is the thinnest setting. I've never worked with transparent clay before, so had no idea what to expect. I used these sheets to cover the rest of the wings. When you put your clay through the pasta machine, it makes them thin and flat, so they do look like sheets. I was actually hoping they would be clear after baking and showing the inner wires as veins. Trial and error. Best way to learn something new. I was hoping the pink would come through as a very light pink with the transparency. I removed the plastic from the base before putting the whole thing in the oven to bake. I baked it at 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. I learned this also from Polymer Clay Tutor in her video about baking times, and I'll post a link to that video as well in the description below. After baking, I was a little bit disappointed in the looks of the wings, but that was my fault for not doing more research on YouTube in regards to using the transparent clay. While I was looking up the videos for this video, I came across her video on transparent clay. I'll have to watch it, though a bit late as of today, since today's the March 26th of 2019. This piece is long finished. I must point out that when I put the whole piece together to bake in the oven, the dragonfly was too heavy for the plant, and it fell off during baking, but luckily nothing broke, but that meant I would need to figure out how to make it stay on the plant after painting. Okay, time to paint. I used some neon glow in the dark and glitter acrylic paints. I didn't have a design in mind, so it was another trial and error piece. After painting, I would rest it inside the top of a jar for the paint to dry. I was ready to work on painting the plant. I wanted the inside to look like water, and I knew the resin would be clear, so I painted the area for the water with a neon glow in the dark light blue. I also painted the outside of the bottom with the neon glow in the light green acrylic paint. For the outside bottom, I also added a layer of green glitter acrylic paint, and to the water area of blue glitter acrylic paint. The leaves were painted with a variety of shades of green and also a layer of the green glitter acrylic paint. I think you might be sensing a theme here. I like glitter paint. Now to finish painting the dragonfly. I wanted the body of the dragonfly to be black so the other colors would stand out. I also painted the legs or wires black. I wasn't happy with the way the wings were looking, so after the paint dried, I painted them again. After repainting the wings and finishing up the rest of the body, I put the dragonfly on the leaves. I continued having problems with the dragonfly staying on the leaves for some reason. Before baking, the legs kept coming out of the clay that I put around them to hold them in place on the leaf. After baking, I didn't want to use my liquid Sculpey to anchor the dragonfly into place, as that meant I would have to rebake the whole thing, which I didn't want to do because of the paint. I wasn't sure about fumes or anything else like that. I didn't want something like that happening. I tried using paint to hold the feet in place, but that didn't work either. I also tried E600 glue to no avail. I was beginning to worry I wouldn't be able to put these two pieces together. Well, time to think again. Okay. I was finally able to get the Dragonfly to stick to the plant with the several layers of Deco Art triple thick gloss glaze that I got from Amazon. I let the glaze cure between applications. I'm finally getting somewhere with this sticking together. And the clear glaze dries clear. I don't remember when the last time was that I had used resin. I believe back in my early 20s, so basically I was new to using it. I bought a box of Fama wood glaze coat resin. I was hesitant to use it since I was new to it and it did somewhat intimidate me. Finally, I told myself I had to finish this project. I wasn't sure how much I needed of the resin. I poured some water into the plant base, then poured this water into a measuring cup. I now knew I would need 2 ounces of resin. Since the resin came in 2 parts, I needed 1 ounce of each bottle. So I took a deep breath and dived right in. It's like, no time like the present. Might as well do it and get it over with. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mixed the liquids and thinking I only needed to stir them together for a couple minutes. While mixing, I used my other hand and took the instruction pamphlet out of the box to read it. Yeah, I should have read it first. I was supposed to mix for 6 minutes, then transfer the mix to a clean container and mix for another 6 minutes. Oh well, if that is what needs to be done, then so be it. So I stirred, transferred, stirred some more. When the 12 minutes were finished, I poured the liquid into the base. It did have some bubbles, but I didn't worry about them as it was water after all, and there was bubbles in water. After 2 days of sitting covered so that no dust or cat hair or anything else in the air didn't fall on the resin while it was curing, it was time to deliver this Dragonfly. The surface was a little tacky, but I think it says 72 hours to cure. It had only been 24 hours. So I figured it'd be fine. I was very pleased with the results of making this Dragonfly, and I was proud of myself for sticking to creating this Dragonfly no matter what I needed to do, nor how long it would take. Well, I get to the center and I give it to the woman. It was a huge hit. She loved it so much and was so surprised at how it turned out, especially after seeing what I started out with. She had only seen those first 2 tries. She never saw any photos or anything of this third try at making the Dragonfly, so it was completely a sight to behold when she saw it. She has it on display on one of the counters for everyone to enjoy. Well, I hope you liked this little video. Don't forget to click on like and subscribe to my channel. Once I reach 50 subscribers, I will start having a drawing once a month to give away a sculpture to the winner. If you are interested in participating in the drawing, comment in the comment section below. I want to participate in the monthly drawing. I will then put your name on the list for the drawing. One thing you need to be aware of, if you want to participate in the drawing, you have to be a visible subscriber to be included in this drawing. I found that when people start their YouTube channels, they are automatically put on invisible. So you do need to go in there and make sure that you are visible. The winner will receive a one-of-a-kind sculpture created by me. It's most likely going to be something you would like. If there is enough interest in this idea, I will write up the details and post them on my channel. Please post your comments and questions below. I enjoy hearing from you. Be sure to click on like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.